And so we come to Samson, who didn't cut his hair. So we imagine him with kind of dreadlocks, and a man with great strength. And we get the sense from the accounts that he was fairly unpredictable. Even his parents didn't quite know what he would do next. So we get this sense of impetuousness about him. And I guess people would have kept their distance from him, not sure what he was going to do next. So there was a sense of power and authority about this unusual looking man. And he was a judge over Israel for 20 years. We don't really get a sense of his decisions and so on. What we've got is a colourful history of his exploits. There are quite a few. You can read them in chapters 14 to 16 of the book of Judges. God's partnership with Samson is unlike any other. No particular conversations, no particular interactions. Just he's like a bull in a china shop. He's been set loose. And yet because I suppose he has this love for his nation and sense of rightness, things are achieved through what he does. In Samson, you've definitely got a character who is more like Goliath than David. So he's someone who has might and strength. And I guess he's a bit like a brick wall to the Philistines. No matter what they throw at him, he's able to defeat them with kind of mighty, strange deeds, setting lots of foxes that he's captured through a wheat field with torches tied to their tails. What a strange way of doing anything, and defeating a whole army, not with a sword, with the jawbone of a donkey. I mean, it's kind of embarrassing how he's defeated them, and I guess that's part of God's testimony to the Philistines. I can defeat you with these weird implements. And they're stubborn. They don't give in. They use intrigue. And the famous story, of course, is Samson being caught out by Delilah. She finds out eventually that it's his hair that's the source of his strength. I mean, why he didn't realise there was all this intrigue going on, who knows? But Samson, there you are. And so yeah, he gets his eyes gouged out, and he's become an entertainer for the Philistines. But as you know, if you know the story, he has the last laugh. His hair regrows, and he's able to pull down the pillars of this temple and destroy Dagon's temple, and of course destroy many of the Philistines along with it, to kind of put an end to their power, at least temporarily, until the next judge comes along. I suppose what's unique maybe about this story of Samson is the irony and the humour. There are other amusing stories like Balaam and his donkey. But, yes, Samson is, well, he's almost a cartoon character, isn't he? As you can understand later on when Israel wanted a king like the other nations, God was reluctant to grant that request. He didn't want them to fall into the nuances and weirdnesses of leaders. He wanted to have his people look to him. But in the end, they do choose. That's a different book, and later on, you do get the kings of Israel, the kings of Judah. Some were great, like the judges were, but you also had some duff ones that they had to cope with and were lumbered with. Yeah. But of course, in our day, Jesus is our King. Jesus is our Lord. And we live out the kingdom in that reality.